team of the underwater demolition crew. And they took us ashore at Nagasaki after they dropped the bomb. It was really blown up badly. It was good. It looked like Mount St. Helens dust, you know, all over everything. Like everything was really destroyed.
Sure.
And we came ashore right at ground zero. We came in and we had the sleeping bag. We stayed right in the middle of that dust. The first night, and my main job was to see if we could bring a Navy attack force of Marines in and take over. It killed all my men. But again, I was fortunate. They didn't die, but we didn't even know they were sick.
Right.
Radiation is the sun.
Yeah.
It sneaks up on you.
Sure.
And it's funny, when I tried to find out what had happened, there was one other lieutenant went in with me. I tried to find out when I realized what was happening. So I didn't have his address, so I wrote to the Bureau of Personnel in the Navy, and they wrote me back and said, well, we can't give you his address because he has a right to remain anonymous. If he wanted to look you up, he would. Well, it turned out they knew he was already dead.
How long did you stay there?
Nagasaki. We left the neck when it got dark the next day. My job was I went and looked where the piers had been to see if they were big enough to clear it up. You know, it was really badly beat up.
Right.
If we could get a ship in there, and we could. But then we left the next day. And basically, because I wasn't married, and I couldn't get home. I had the points, but I couldn't get home. The ship had a lot of young officers aboard, and a lot of them had been there longer, but there'd been another ship, and so they said that's how come they sent me to China then, because I had to stay out there. And I didn't come home until I think it was March of '46. Let's see. And then I would have covered everybody but Clyde. And he joined the Navy when he got out of, well, roughly in 1940, he'd been out of high school a year or so. And they were on the same ship. They had to be together.
Oh, just a second. I've got somebody pounding on my door.
Where are you?
He teaches class and teaches over here.
You know what he did?
No, I can't remember. I knew, but I can't remember right now. Stuart, you don't mind if another Historical Society member joins us, do you?
No.
This is Stuart Smith. This is John Hartman.
Hello, John.
Carolyn.
Hi, we know each other.
How
you doing?
Yeah. John, Stuart is telling us about his time in the services, in the Marines and in the Navy, and so he's just telling us about his brothers. I've copied all kinds of things, so if you want to sit down and join, let him finish telling his stories here.
Okay, he's my oldest brother, Clyde. He went in the Navy then, and he got on the same ship with my other brother Stanley, and they were out there at Pearl Harbor, but they weren't in Pearl Harbor. They were not inside the harbor, and because no cruisers were in there, they were a heavy cruiser, and he was in the air wing of it, and that's how he got killed by the Germans.
Did he fly a plane, or was he?
He was what they call an enlisted pilot.
Oh.
They had Navy equipment up in World War II. And he'd come back and gone to flight school down in Pensacola. This was his first thing back. And they were They were flying on a bombing run from Natal, Brazil to Dakar, Africa. And off the coast of Africa, they spotted the submarine and they bombed it and damaged so it couldn't sink or couldn't go under, submerged. So they turned around and came back for another bombing run. They didn't know there was another German submarine that came up right beside it. And they scored it direct hit in the pipe. It's just one of those things that you do. And anyhow, he was missing in action for a year because they couldn't find the bodies. And after the war was over, they found the captain of the submarine that had shot him down and killed him, and they invited him for their Navy reunion, which I wouldn't have done. So anyhow, that's about it.
Yeah. Now, this brother here,
Burton.
Burton, you said he saw some heavy fighting. Now, is
that's
this
what
was
it is
his?
here.
Okay.
They went from Normandy and they went to the battle. God, they were killed them like flies.
Yeah.
So, and then they ended up joining the Russians in roughly Bavaria, in one of those, roughly where one of those big concentration camps were. I remember my brother was telling me how sickening it was. They were the first ones there. And, you know, I've heard that crazy bastard up at Coeur d'Alene say that those concentration camps were lies. That's strictly Jewish propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
This makes me sick that people get away with, Butler. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Well, they probably do mean educated.
Can you tell us just a little bit about your early life? You said you went to school in Harvard?
Yes, I spent all of my elementary years went to Woodfell.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was no high school district, and Potlatch was a private school, remember, called high school. And we could go to Plouffe, but that was a long ways away. So if your elementary district was willing to pay your tuition, you could go to Potlatch high school. And that's all my brothers and sisters did the same thing. There were 8 of us all together. And then I graduated from Potlatch High School in 1940, and I had a football scholarship to college, so I went to college and played football a couple of years, and then I joined the Marine Officer Training Program, and they let me stay in college one more year, 1942. And then after the war, I came back and got my degree and my master's degree at the University of Washington. And I don't know, what do you teach?
I don't teach anything.
This is not her husband.
Oh, this isn't?
No,
I know.
No, this isn't my husband.
No,
I thought it was because you had your glasses on.
I just got your message about the computer.
So anyhow, I was the only one of the family that was in a position to go to college, because we were like all families in the Depression era. Nobody had any money, but getting that football scholarship made it so I could get out of the ghetto.
So you went to University of Washington.
I graduated. I went to University of Idaho.
Oh, did you at first? Great.
And I was there on a football scholarship attachment. And so this brother was an awfully much better athlete than I. And he was offered a scholarship, but he didn't really believe he could make it on that. He didn't see that, they provided your room and board and books and tuition. And you had to live close to it. You couldn't go spend a lot of money, but you could get a college education.
Didn't you say that he didn't have any clothes even when your house burned down?
Well, our house burned down, and it burned all his clothes up, and he was in school then. He dropped out for a couple of years. The people that were, fortunately, I was sort of at the tail end. I started high school in 1935, and that was right in the middle of it. Man, that was really. But we didn't know we were poor because everybody else was. That's really, I had no idea that we were poor. Nobody told me. And when you're like we lived they named the big creek after that. It's called Smith Creek now. It's
Out there by Woodville?
mhm.
Uh-huh.
And my dad we had a ranch there. It was 740 or 50 acres, something like that. And we raised mostly cattle. It was natural meadow. It had never been plowed. Beautiful. But then about 1939 or 38, sometime in there, we plowed it. We had bought a track, and we plowed it up and planted. And fortunately, I left in 1940 and really never went back. During the war, my folks sold it. There was the kids were all gone. And they sold it during the war. They sold it to, I don't know where the guy, I can't remember. But he was mostly a cattle ranch. He would take the cattle up there and pasture them in the summertime, and winter them down in Colfax, or down there somewhere.
Well, this is very interesting. I'm so glad you have shared this with us.
Did you know Happy Moody,
No,
the sheriff?
No, don't.
Oh, he was mom. For Layton County.
Now, how is he related to you, Carol?
My mother's brother.
Oh, okay. Irene. Yes. Uh-huh.
Irene Millwood.
Okay.
Did you get a copy of this? If you
No.
really didn't want it, it's
No,
okay.
I didn't get a copy of this.
It was the family ranch. See, it was long and thin. It was a long ways from here to here. It went up this, what now is the Smith Creek. It was Meadow Creek then.
Oh, I see.
But they sometimes had to live in town. Like they would either live with my mother or have to rent a little place because it was too far to commute. You know,
I'll tell you, the north is you can't hardly believe, but snow was deep. 4 or 5 feet. The fences were all covered up. You couldn't see anything except for
You don't have snow.
Did you have Doris Kinman as a teacher anywhere along the line?
I went to Harvard grade school my last 2 years, and she taught there, but she was in the other room. I was there. They had one teacher had 4 grades, and the other teacher had 4 grades.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my classmates, I don't know if you know any of the Stuarts or not. They were all classmates of mine.
Stuart?
One of them married a Kata. What was it? He had a furniture store, didn't he?